9.8 miles. More importantly, 3,400 foot elevation gain. Look at this cool tree. Today is June 7th, 2022. Deschutes National Forest, Central Oregon. So, two ways to do this hike. The long version, which I'm doing, and of course the short version. You park at the UPPER Trailhead, and it's only 3.8 miles and 1,600 feet instead of 9.8 miles and 3,400 feet, so less than half on both metrics. Only downside on that is the parking lot's small, and the road up there is pretty sketch. A lot of potholes and ruts, and I could say from personal experience I've done it twice. Both times I made it. I've got a mid-size SUV, but both times it was slightly past my red line of what I want to expose one of my main vehicles to. So for that reason, and actually just honestly, I wanted to do the full version, decided to park at the lower trailhead and make this a full experience. Parking the lower trailhead is good for any car. You're not going to injure your vehicle doing that. It's just basically right off the highway, a little red forest road, no sign, and then you just turn into the roundabout and there's the trailhead, so really shouldn't injure your car doing the lower one. So as far as Black Butte itself, kind of a famous landmark in the area. Up at the top, it's one of these where there's a flat, wide, expansive lookout zone where you can explore the top and probably go carve out your own little secluded area. Kind of makes the effort getting to the top more worth it. I'm not a fan of the ones where you spend hours scaling a mountain and the lookout zone's like 10 foot by 10 foot. There's already half a dozen people up there skulking around. So you finally get to the top and you're like, well, there isn't really enough space for me to have a moment. So this is not one of those. You can go find your own area to hang out and enjoy the 8 mountains that you can see. Today should be a clear day. We'll see some clouds in the forecast. Here's a pro tip for you. If you're doing a hike where one of the payoffs of climbing a mountain, or a butte in this case, is the views from the top, try to do it on a sunny, blue sky day if you can. No guarantees, but maximize the chance that you might actually get the views at the top that you were hoping for. Now, I'm not one of these people that is just about the destination. I'm not doing this just for the view at the top. To me, that's just the cherry on top. I like to enjoy the full experience from the first step to the last. Even though this is difficult, hiking through Deschutes National Forest like this is quite beautiful. So if you're the right attitude, enjoy the whole experience. Then the views at the top are just an added bonus and not the whole reason why you did it. I think psychology is a big part of being a successful wilderness adventure, is framing things correctly in your noggin so you have a good experience no matter what. If I was just coming for a view at the top, I probably wouldn't bother doing this because the juice wouldn't be worth the squeeze. But if you enjoy the entire hike, then the juice is automatically worth a squeeze. Whew. As I said, this is a stair stepper. This entire hike is straight up. 3,400 feet. Do have some very beautiful ponderosa pines dotting the trail. Little forest eye candy for you. Kind of funny the way this is designed. I'll go up 3 miles and 1,800 feet, literally just to get to the second parking lot. I'm not there yet. I won't fancy a wager how far I am, but At some point, I will get up to the upper trailhead, which I could have driven straight to if I really wanted to, but wanted the full historic Black Butte trail experience. Here's another little subsection. A little respite. See what's down there. I guess this might be a forest road. Seems wide enough. Fire lane in case of forest fire. Nice to have a nice little flat area after a long, sustained uphill. Enough for me to catch my breath for the next uphill. Whew. Kind of a cool section coming up. Climbing up to the Black Butte lookout area. It's a large, flat summit zone. The kind I like, where you can carve out your own space and enjoy the views. There's 8 mountains, 8 peaks visible on a clear day. So far, it appears this might be a clear day. There's given evidence there's a mountain over there. Started, it was 42 degrees. Supposed to get up to 72 by this afternoon. I should be back long before then. I'll probably experience 50s and 60s. Mid 60s probably as high as I'll get on this hike. I hydrated well before I came. I've got 2 sugar-free Powerades on me, which I'm planning on drinking. Sometimes I take a drink and I don't consume it, but with this elevation gain, I am most definitely drinking both these. Just a matter of where. You don't want to drink them too soon. Kind of back end them if you can. Maybe one when I'm almost to the top, and then one a little while after I leave, or at the top. Currently ascending 3,400 feet, 9.8 miles. Since it's all uphill one way and all downhill the way back, that 3,400 feet is spread across 4.9 miles. Started about 3,000 feet, going up to 6,355 at the summit area. Even though it's relatively decently high as far as snowmelt, surprisingly, because I think of the angles of this area, it's accessible snowmelt-wise 3rd to 4th week in May. There's a lot of other things in the area at that elevation. Take another month or so, month and a half. I didn't want to highlight the moss of these trees. This is pretty epic, this area. Get to hike along these beautiful mossy trees in a bit of an ecological transition zone. Deschutes National Forest, particularly this Metolius River and Black Butte area, is primarily ponderosa pine heaven. There's miles and miles of massive reddish brown barked ponderosas, but this is one of the few sections that is ecologically different, particularly highlighting this awesome green moss. Look at this. This is pretty cool. I'm pretty impressed. One of the more visually stunning sections so far. It's a little difficult, not gonna lie. If you're an avid wilderness adventurer, it's not something that you can handle, but I would say if you're just starting out, I would not try to go for the full version of this hike. So we are at the upper trailhead parking of Black Butte. Let me show off, here is the parking lot, and here is the trailhead. So this is the upper trailhead parking. As you can see, this sign down here, Black Butte Trail, Lower Trailhead, 3 miles. That is where I parked, and I have climbed up 3 miles. The mileage isn't the big deal. It's the straight up feel the burn stair climber. So I've already climbed up 1,800 feet to this area. This picnic table and this pile of rocks is my reward. I just sat down for a minute and took a minor reprieve. And now get to climb up an additional 1,600 feet. So 1,800 feet down, 1,600 feet to go, slightly over halfway in the elevation gain. Doing 3,400 feet of elevation gain today. If you start at the lower like I did, this is a 9.8 mile trek. If you start at the upper, it's only a 3.8 mile trek. Basically, you get to shave 6 miles and 1,800 of the 3,400 feet over half just by parking at this upper trailhead. I had never done the full version, the 9.8. It's also called the historic version. Also, to be honest, the parking lot's pretty small and the road is very sketch. I've driven up here twice to the upper, and both times I was not impressed by the road. The road is very potholed and rutted and pretty sketch. It's one of those where I made it both times. I got a mid-size SUV, but it was just a little past my comfort zone red line wise. Car is making all sorts of sounds and it feels like it's braking, that kind of a road. So I do know that people do damage their vehicle coming up here every year. So caveat emptor situation. If you came up here once, probably be okay risking it if you got the right kind of car, but I opted for the long version. Why not add some mileage and some elevation? Then you can save your car completely. So that's what I'm doing today, but to each his own. We're hiking through Deschutes National Forest here in Central Oregon. Mostly it's ponderosa pine heaven, but some cool kind of mossy sections like this add a little character to the trail. This upper section also, definitely the prettier section, obviously. It's gonna have some vistas. Also has some informational placards I'll stop at. Going up through a beautiful ponderosa pine forest. Quite magical. Speak of the devil, there's a pretty epic ponderosa pine. These out and backs to the top of a Butte mountain typically are front loaded in energy and time. Take you 2/3 of the time to get to the halfway point. And about 70% of the exertion energy. And the other third of the time and 30% of your exertion is the way back. So I hydrated well before I came. Big protein breakfast. And brought myself 2 sugar-free Powerades. Most of the other areas that go up to 6,300 aren't going to be accessible for another month, maybe longer. So for whatever reason, this area melts aggressively. So this is one of the first hikes you can do in the area that's more epic. One of the reasons why it's a famous kind of landmark of the area. On top of that, because there's no water sources in the area, there are no mosquitoes, which, depending on where you live, may or may not sound like a big deal, but the Cascades mountain system that we're at is kind of considered mosquito ground zero. Oregon and Washington, particularly the real thick green areas that have hundreds or thousands of lakes and bogs and swamps and rivers. Mosquitoes can be horrible, particularly in June, like right around now through July. By August, typically it's going away. Really all you need is one good freeze overnight and they all die. So once you have one freeze, you should be good. But long way of saying there's no mosquitoes in this area because we're at elevation and there's no water. So there's already some trails in the area closer to water level that are already kind of mosquito infested. So it's nice to be able to come here and not even worry about it. I didn't spray or bring any cream or do any of that kind of stuff. I just ignoring the mosquitoes. I'm getting higher and higher up with each step. This area is flattening out a little bit for a ridge line, but we still have more climbing to do. Get to the lookout zone. we're also starting to get the dividend of these peak views, which I greatly appreciate. Look at that. This area is beautiful. Absolutely incredible. Making my way to the top. Oh my gosh, look how beautiful this area is. This is crazy. Absolutely incredible. You can even see the overlook straight ahead. Definitely a feel the burn hike. Let me stop and give you this panorama. Oh my gosh, look at that. That is incredible. Got all sorts of mountains around here. It's crazy. Got Sisters and Three Finger Jack and Mount Washington. Really, all of the Central Oregon wonders are out here to play. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful.